More now on our breaking news. You can see there on the screen an earthquake with a magnitude of 7.2 has struck southwest of Fiji. The US Geological Survey says the epicentre was 284 kilometres off the coast of Fiji and hit at 9:52 p.m. local time.
Now, a local tsunami warning has been issued. The Pacific Tsunami Warning Centre saying any threat from the waves will be isolated to Fiji's coastline. Any waves are likely to be small. Now, Geoscience Australia also estimates that the shaking or the tremors might have been felt in surrounding islands, including Tonga, Vanuatu and New Caledonia.
Residents have been shaken awake by a 3.9 magnitude earthquake that struck just south of Sydney. This video just into our newsroom shows the damage one Campbelltown resident says the quake caused in a backyard.
Now, this 3.9 magnitude earthquake struck the epicentre here at Appin just after 1 this morning. Many residents took to social media reporting this felt in nearby suburbs including Wilton, Menangle, Glenalpine, even Campbelltown, which is just 50 kilometres southwest of Sydney.
Platform in the Gulf of Mexico is burning right now. Of course, this brings back bad memories of the 2010 Deepwater Horizon disaster.
That platform on fire located about 80 miles south of Grand Isle, Louisiana. We have circled the area in blue. It's a broad area. We understand that. This is a government map you're looking at. You see there's a number of platforms in that area. Those little dots you see are all oil and gas platforms. Coast Guard says 4 ships right now fighting this fire. No pollution has been reported, and 4 people have been rescued.
Scientists have finally traced a mysterious fast radio burst, or FRB, to a location more than 3 billion light years away. The signal was first discovered in 2007, when scientists thought it was emanating from within the Milky Way itself or from a close galactic neighbor. But a new report in the journal Nature confirms the FRB actually comes from a dwarf galaxy, 1% the mass of our own, located in the pentagon-shaped constellation Auriga. According to Cornell University researcher Shami Chatterjee, these radio flashes must have enormous amounts of energy to be visible from over 3 billion light years away. But alien enthusiasts can hold their breaths, as scientists do not consider ETs to be the source of the signal. According to Chatterjee, we think it may be a magnetar, a newborn neutron star with a huge magnetic field inside a supernova remnant, or a pulsar wind nebula, somehow producing these prodigious pulses.
Shocking images coming in from Bengaluru on New Year's Eve, the revelry that went terribly wrong. This was a night out for hundreds of women on the 31st of December at the very famous MG Road and Brigade Road. This is the heart of Bengaluru that turned into a nightmare for them when they were groped and they were molested in the open by unruly drunk men. And all of this was happening despite the presence of police. One could see hooligans molesting and passing very lewd remarks on the women who were also celebrating New Year's Eve, forcing them to run for help. The molestation was so brazen, it was happening in the open, and the police were clearly outnumbered by thousands of revelers who were seen on the streets.
The latest is that the police has registered a case against unknown perpetrators of the crime. They're analyzing the CCTV footage of the 45 cameras that were put in place on that night. They're identifying the footage and trying to see who these men were. They are trying to identify the men who sexually harassed women on the streets on the New Year's Eve. Police is also awaiting a complainant to come forward, because so far, even though women are talking to the media, they are giving interviews to TV and print media, but they're not coming forward as complainants. And that has to do with, of course, the social stigma that exists in the society. Nonetheless, these women are not ready to become complainants in the case, and police is actually hoping that some of them become complainants so that there is support and they identify these men. So investigations are now on, and interestingly, it was not on unless pressure was put in after these photographs, which actually came out in a local newspaper in Bangalore, where the photographer published these pictures where women were seeking help from police women on that night because they were being molested, they were being groped, and so they needed help. And those pictures were published where it was said that these police people did not really help these women. At the same time, there is some footage which has come forward which shows that a woman who was walking alone in a street like this in Bangalore, which is like a residential street, she was also harassed and groped in that street. So it's not just that this kind of harassment is happening, sexual harassment is happening, was happening on the New Year's Eve, but it was also happening on streets which were deserted, which were not in that crowded area.
Governor Dan Patrick is anticipated Thursday to introduce legislation limiting public restroom access for transgender people. Patrick previously said his proposed Privacy Protection Act is a main legislative priority for Texas. The bill is one of many this year for state legislatures that socially conservative supporters say give protections against sexual predators. Critics say that opinion is not based on any evidence, and the laws are designed to hinder the civil rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. Patrick's office has not released details of the bill.
CBS News national correspondent Dean Reynolds is following the very latest there in Chicago. Dean, as we mentioned, police have arrested 4 people. Is there any clear indication why the group targeted this mentally disabled man and then live streamed it on Facebook for everyone to see?
Sounds pretty stupid, doesn't it? No, there is no explanation so far as to why they did this or why they showed all of it on Facebook. We do know apparently the victim knew one of the perpetrators or the alleged perpetrators previously, but beyond that we don't know why he was singled out, why they did what they did to him, and certainly why they put it on Facebook.
In your headlines, developing this morning, the vicious attack of a special needs teen from Crystal Lake. The entire thing streamed live on Facebook.
And now new video has surfaced showing how far the suspects would go to torture the 18-year-old. And we do want to warn you, the images are disturbing. CBS 2's Susanna Song joins us live from Streamwood, where the ordeal started. Hi, Susanna.
Hey, good morning. The special needs teen was known to people here. He would often come to this 24-hour McDonald's, and according to the manager, sometimes he would even sleep here. And it was likely here he was taken in a stolen van and driven 30 miles to Chicago's west side and tortured. 4 people are now in custody. The newest video posted on Twitter showing the suspects grabbing the victim's head, shoving it into a toilet, and forcing him to drink. Police tell us they are now looking at this video. However, the first hint of their horrendous act surfaced on Facebook Live. The mentally challenged man is backed into a corner, his mouth duct taped, his clothes cut, his hair cut with a knife until his scalp bleeds, and then cigarette ashes dropped on his head. The 30-minute video rattled Chicago's police superintendent.
It's sickening. It's sickening. You know, it makes you wonder what would make individuals treat somebody like that.
Police tell us the parents of the victim dropped him off on Saturday at this McDonald's in Streamwood. The suspects then took him in a stolen van to an apartment on the west side. During the video, you hear them talk about Donald Trump and white people.
Donald Trump. White people, what?
Police tell us they held him for as many as 2 days.
They eventually just took his, unbound him and let him go, yeah.
Shortly after he was let go, officers spotted him walking on the street near the apartment.
It didn't seem right, the situation. They saw clearly that this individual was in distress and he was in crisis. And they cared enough to do something about it.
Again, 4 people are now in custody. Police say one of them is an acquaintance of the victim. Now, sources say they could be charged with kidnapping, unlawful restraint, and battery at minimum. They could also be charged with a hate crime.
So by now, I'm sure you have seen the kidnapping of the white man that was apparently disabled or mentally disabled, and the torture that ensued. Now, a lot of these videos have been removed from social media, so you're kind of having to pick apart and find them online to see the entirety of the videos. But without not even 24 hours since this happened, CNN is already back on television race baiting and implying that Donald Trump is racist. So CNN is totally shameless. And right now there's actually a conversation going around the office if it's just time to boycott CNN entirely. Even us who monitor the propaganda, just totally cut them out. But this was last night. Now, we'll see if CNN or any of the mainstream news continues to cover this. But last night, Don Lemon had a panel regarding the kidnapping, and it was pretty absurd. This is how it went.
There's certain things that I can't say that it's a hate crime because Chicago police won't say it. They're saying they're still investigating it.
So now you're going to wait until the police investigation to decide whether it's a hate crime or not. But in past instances, for example, Michael Brown, you're okay to jump on the bandwagon of that fake news. Of course, this is completely ridiculous because I can step outside and look at a blade of grass and call it a blade of grass. I don't need to go to a forensic lab to have that analyzed to determine, okay? This was clearly a hate crime by law, but we'll get into that in a moment. Let's roll to the next one.
We cannot callously go about classifying things as a hate crime. Motive here matters.
Callously classifying things is all the mainstream media does, and motive matters. They made their motive very clear in the video. Now, here's the actual law. Now, I don't necessarily agree with hate crime legislation existing, but it does, and here's the law. 18 U.S. Code 249 Hate Crime Acts. Offenses involving actual or perceived race. Whoever willfully causes bodily injury to any person or attempts to cause bodily injury to any person because of the actual or perceived race shall be imprisoned not more than 10 years, shall be imprisoned for any term of 10 years or life, a term of 10 years or life, if the offense includes kidnapping. So there's the actual law, Simone. I wonder if you took any time to read it. You did mention the motive. They made their motive clear. The law is clear. That's a hate crime.
Basically, their statement was that they don't allow the glorification of violence on Facebook. So if something goes against this, they will remove the video. But at the same time, if you want to put up a video that is to condemn violence, then they would allow that. So this means that the same video, depending on who posted it and why they posted it, could be removed in one case and not removed in the other case. You could have a video of someone being beheaded. If it's posted by ISIS, that would be removed. But if it's posted by someone else condemning the actions, then it would be allowed.
The structure that they have in place is that any user can report a video, even live as it's going on. And there is a staff of people, I'm told, who will check that video against the policy. I think that's probably the best they can do, given that video, and so much video now, across not only Facebook but also other platforms, is live. I think it's important for platforms to err on the side of openness and free speech. However, when the platform becomes an actor in the sense that people are using it to promote and to get attention for their bad acts, that's when it goes too far.
Good morning. Officer Ruben De Los Santos has been placed on administrative leave. The mother of the young girl who was body slammed told our local CBS affiliate that her daughter suffered a concussion. The school's principal sent a letter to parents saying she was deeply concerned by what she saw.
It's unclear what prompted Officer De Los Santos to slam this teenage girl to the ground. He was responding to this fight between two other girls caught on a second video. Moments later, the teen is taken down by the officer. A school official says she was not involved in the initial fight, and a witness claims the girl was actually trying to break up the brawl, which involved her sister. Parents learning about the incident expressed concern.
Being a parent of two kids, I have a senior and a freshman here, a boy and a girl. I don't think an adult ever really should body slam a child, especially a female.
I'd like to know what happened prior to escalating, getting to that point. So if there's more to the video, I'd like to see it. I think as parents, we have a right to see it and know what's going on.
In a short statement to the local Board of Commissioners, Roseville Police Chief Bobby Langston pleaded with the community to remain patient while the matter is investigated.
We will work diligently to review any and all pertinent information so that we can provide an accurate account of the event.
A city official says this is Ruben De Los Santos, who's been a school resource officer at Roseville for 3.5 years. On its Facebook page, the North Carolina chapter of the American Civil Liberties Union posted a statement saying, in part, "This disturbing use of force should never be used against children in schools. We are working to learn more about the situation."
Deaf police officer caught on camera punching a woman in the face, resigning just hours before the department planned to fire him. The video is still shocking to see. Officer Jeff Bonar seen punching Marissa Morris last November. He claims he was defending himself, saying Morris kicked him. This case is far from over at this point, though. Bonar's case will be reviewed by the Mohave County attorney to see if charges are necessary. As for Morris, no charges for her yet, but her case is also being reviewed. Now, Jarrett Maupin, who led protesters to shut down freeway traffic against Phoenix police this summer, weighing in tonight on this case. He says even though in the past he's focused on race issues, civil rights are civil rights.
This is about right and wrong. It's not about black and white this time, or brown and blue. It's about right and wrong. And what happened to Marissa Morris was an injustice.
McDonald's is facing a lawsuit to block one of its newest restaurants in Italy. The fast food giant last week opened a franchise just outside the walls of Vatican City. The location has generated a supersized controversy. Seth Doan is in Rome with why some neighbors and church leaders are so upset. Seth, good morning.
Good morning. There are a number of places here around the Vatican where you can get classic Roman dishes, things like carbonara or cacio e pepe. And now it turns out you can get a classic dish of a very different sort, a Big Mac.
Michelangelo helped design the glorious dome of St. Peter's Basilica. And now not far from that famed dome are modern arches, the Golden Arches.
Le piace il McDonald's qui? Do you like the McDonald's here?
Il McDonald's.
Sì, le piace?
No.
For 4 generations, Manuel Tosti's family has had a restaurant across the street. McDonald's is producing a lot of problems, he told us. It is the same food everywhere, whereas we do pasta that's famous worldwide and typical Roman dishes. In an interview with Italy's La Repubblica, Cardinal Elios La Grecia called the arrival of the fast food chain a disgrace. Pope Francis, who incidentally once used a Bolivian Burger King to change into his religious vestments, regularly rails against consumerism. But the Vatican is in on this deal, said to be receiving more than $31,000 a month in rent. This McDonald's is a tenant in one of the many Vatican-owned buildings surrounding Vatican City.
McDonald's certainly sticks out on these quaint, ancient streets. The restaurant is just there. Behind me here is the wall of Vatican City, St. Peter's Basilica, even the window the Pope speaks from. And around the corner is another piece of Vatican property that now hosts a different restaurant chain.
Hard Rock Cafe opened a store on Via della Conciliazione, the grand boulevard which leads to St. Peter's Square. Near the Vatican, some are pragmatic. It is an inexpensive meal after all. And there's a little perspective. I think there are more serious problems in the world, Father Alessandro said. There are greater scandals.
Now, reports have emerged over the last week that refugees have begun returning to the previously decimated Calais refugee camp in France. The site's clearance in October was praised as a huge success at the time by authorities. But now hundreds of people are believed to be making, quote, secret camps around the area. RT's Anastasia Cherkina reports.
This is where the infamous jungle used to be, home to thousands of people living in tents. Today, it looks like it never even happened. For French officials, the huge demolition process that took place became a success, a sort of out of sight, out of mind. But is it really all so simple?
The problem is just become more invisible. The dismantling of the jungle has actually made things worse. You don't see people. You know why? Because they're scattered everywhere. Before you saw several thousand people in one spot. Now they're everywhere. Have they gone away? No.
We're now about 45 miles away from Calais, trying to investigate the existence of smaller camps. We're approaching one of those now in Noirfont to see what the situation is there. You can see there's a couple dozen tents here, but we have been speaking to volunteers who have come here, who've said in recent weeks there have been as many as 200 people settled here. So we're going to see if we can talk to anybody here now. Pardon? Est-ce qu'on peut parler avec vous, s'il vous plaît?
Don't make picture, right, please.
Pardon, monsieur? Est-ce qu'on peut parler avec vous, s'il vous plaît? Non? Sorry, we're journalists. Is it okay if we talk to you a little bit?
No journalist.
No journalists?
Yeah.
Is there anybody who can talk to us here?
Yes. We didn't talk journalist.
One of the situations here is that people from here, based in this particular camp, were potentially smuggled to get to the UK where they want to go. And obviously, that's one of the reasons that we've been told these guys are very aggressive and don't want to speak to journalists. We're going to try to get going. And so why are you here? Do you want to get to the UK?
Yeah.
So you try to get in cars?
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It is run by the smugglers. You pay 500 euros to live in the camp and have a smuggler open the door of a lorry.
Closed-circuit television never captures sound, but even mute, you get the idea. Phone cameras in apartment blocks all over the port city of Izmir captured the immediate aftermath from a variety of perspectives. It was a car bomb outside a courthouse, with many casualties and a great deal of panic as bystanders fled the scene. In the shootout that followed, 2 suspects were killed, graphic pictures of their bodies posted on the internet. Why did this happen here? Was it a coincidence that overnight more than a dozen people in Izmir had been arrested in connection with the massacre in the Reyna nightclub in Istanbul on New Year's Eve? Perhaps it was, since the governor of Izmir said immediately after the car bomb that their suspicions were resting not on ISIL but on a cell of the Kurdish PKK. But all the same, it complicates things still further for the Turkish authorities. Many of those arrested in Izmir were Uyghurs from the persecuted Muslim community of Western China. None, however, was the gunman, and the Turkish authorities don't even know if he's still in the country. But in an interview, one of the country's deputy prime ministers suggested they believe the gunman is also a Uyghur, extremely well trained in violence.
When we watch all the videos, it's seen that this is a very sophisticated incident. It's understood that this plan was well studied. What I can tell you for the moment is that our security forces identified the terrorist. His probable whereabouts also established.
All of it demonstrates how Turkey's three-way war with the Kurds and ISIL is being fought out not only in Syria and Iraq, but its own cities. Izmir is best known as being the exit point from Turkey for refugees fleeing to Greece in rubber boats. The violence, it seems, follows them all the way to the sea. Lawrence Lee, Al Jazeera.